and thank you so much for joining me. I am here with Ariane Barnes, actor, singer, choreographer, and performance lecturer, and founder and CEO at the Different Women Project. Ariane is an absolutely inspirational powerhouse of a woman. It's why we are here talking to each other today. We're going to be talking about what is our worth as women. And I want to say, first of all, Ariane, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to have you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
I wanted to introduce you to everybody here. Now, everyone in this program, you know that the Body Confidence Academy, it's all about knowing that you're so much more than a body. And the program is about empowering you to reach for really meaningful and inspiring goals, rather than just reducing your existence and your worth down to a dress size and what you look like. We do a lot of work on finding and expressing our true self, speaking our truth, being heard and seen. And this is why I want to invite you here today, Ariane, to share with us your personal and professional experiences in this realm. As the founder and CEO at Different Women Project, you describe yourself as a well-rounded creative. I know how incredibly versatile that you are. You work internationally and you do amazing social change work on diversity in your industry and well beyond that as well. You've become a role model for women wanting to express themselves and be seen in a very public way as their true selves. And you do an awful lot to help women bring more of themselves to performance instead of hiding. I've always loved how open and vocal you are on social media about these values and your mission and passion. And we as women need women like you on our social media feeds, being that voice for us. And you've got to this place because you've done so much work on yourself and your personal growth and development. You've been on a journey personally and professionally, and along the way worked on your relationship with your body. So thank you for being here. And as an icebreaker, I would love to hear in your own words, how would you describe the nature of the work that you do?
Well, I think really what we do with the Different Women Project is to bring in and give opportunities to the communities that are unheard and invisible. So in my case, that through my personal experience, I work a lot with the wounded warrior archetype, which is about repurposing your pain and repurposing the idea that life has done you wrong in some way, and flipping the script on that and saying, actually, this is the situation. I can acknowledge that, I can access that, and I can do something with it. So I went ahead and set up the Different Women Project as a result of my experiences being kind of invisible as a mixed race woman, never being consistently told that I was not enough in the industry. I was never white enough, black enough, Indian enough, straight enough. That is the message that got sent back to me, whether it was the performance industry or the media. And so I didn't really see myself reflected anywhere. And I discovered that this was an issue with many, many women. So what I decided to do is kind of channel all of my, we call it artivism now, all of my art and my teaching skill into this one hub of activity, which became the Different Women Project. And what we really do is focus on the master maker energy of making our teachers, the women of color and the LGBTQ women, really put them in a position of power where they can impart their knowledge to others. And as much as possible, we try and use women from those particular communities. And then from a client perspective, the people that are coming to us, we aim to give them a really safe, inclusive, holistic environment where they can use performance and psychology, yoga psychology I use a lot, in order to really access their true selves. And by the end of it, the aim is they walk away with a sense of higher purpose, clarity, strength, and just really being more comfortable in their own skin. And I found, which I wasn't expecting, a lot of people don't really understand what empowerment means or what it is. And it isn't until they've been in an environment. It is interesting. I found it very interesting that, I've had women say stuff like, oh, I was expecting empowerment, but instead I walked away with a sense of community and self-worth and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but that's what empowerment is.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that people aren't quite sure, it's still kind of this term that people are working to ground back into the now.
What you do, I love your holistic approach. It's phenomenal. The safe space that you create for women, and something that you said stood out to me so profoundly, which is when you don't see yourself represented, and what that can do for you, and how important it is for us as women to find those spaces in our tribe where we are represented and where we can see diversity, and where we can see, hey, the truth is that we're not all the same. We don't all look the same, and we can't expect to be molded into one way of how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to look like. It's so damaging, and the work that you're doing sounds so freeing and so liberating for women. So we have known each other since drama school.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
environment, man, that environment, that was hard in terms of being judged.
It was something. Yeah.
Judged on your appearance, pigeonholed because of our appearance. So much of what we deemed worthy to be cast for was based on the way we looked and sounded. So do you mind sharing some of the challenges that you've had to overcome as a woman in your industry when there is so much emphasis on your appearance and the way that you look?
Well, I think that the primary thing that I've experienced both in drama school and in the industry is being constantly misunderstood and misjudged, and having my identity, especially on a racial level, consistently assumed and questioned for me. So
that must have been frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating because people, I am multiracial. So people try very hard to put me into a box, and I don't fit any of those boxes. Plus I am moi, which makes it even more difficult for them to put me in a box. And I think, so really it was this sense of my individuality and who I was really clashing with the reality of the existing structures that I was in. And that's really the core of the message, the core of the truth of the problem. And then you kind of add the layers that it's because there's an enormous amount of prejudice and an enormous amount of inherent bias within structures all over the world. It's really interesting right now because the artivism world is going crazy.
Yeah, I was about to say,
justifiably, yeah. So I think it was very hard being one of the only women of color, one of the only queer women in our. I think I was the only queer woman in our year. I think.
I don't remember anybody else that comes to mind.
I can't. So basically, I was dealing with all of that, plus all of those pressures that we're talking about, and this constant assumption that because I was exotic, I would be fine. And it couldn't have been further from the truth.
Oh, honey. Oh my gosh. How was it? What was the truth for you?
Can you quantify that a little bit more for me?
Yeah.
That's quite obscure.
If the truth wasn't that, oh, because I'm exotic, I will be fine. What was the truth that you faced?
The truth was that the industry is fundamentally institutionally racist. And that is something that I have actively worked against dismantling pretty much since I graduated. Because what happens in our industry, if you're a woman of color and you're not skinny, is another thing, or actually on the other end of it, it works in the scale of opposites. If you are not at a comfortable opposite of the scale, if you're in the middle, if you walk the middle path, you're in trouble. You're constantly having to justify yourself right and left. And I think the truth for me was constantly, and I think I told you this, my dark night of the soul was turning up to an audition that my agent hadn't prepared me for, not knowing that I was going for the role of an Indian auntie, and turning up in a halter dress as a pretty girl, because we had assumed, both of us wrongly, that the other knew what I was going for. No one had bothered to have the conversation with me. And I remember when I got there, when I was in the room in front of casting directors and musical directors that I knew and loved, the director pointed to a map of India and said, so if you were from India, where exactly in India are you from? Now that shouldn't have even been an issue. It shouldn't have been anywhere near the agenda. And this woman was a woman of color. So to have that coming back from supposedly one of my own, that was for me gutting. I then understood, okay, so it's not just white people, it's everyone. How am I going to deal with this? So for me, I think I really sank into this depression, where I just thought everyone, and it is that really, in yoga, we call it tamas, it's a really heavy energy of the world is against me, and so getting myself out of that and lifting my vibrations, being that inspiration that you're talking about now, which is, it's great to hear that, but it's also sort of like, okay, so because it's not until you have these conversations, even at this level, that you kind of realize, oh wow, look at the journey, and other people can see that, and because you don't get that. And I think it's really important perhaps for your women to hear that that reassurance. You're not going to get that this happens literally once every 10 years. So it's really important that you have that strong kind of inner core to keep you going.
Yeah, it's such an important message for our women here. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'd love to know, what has it given you personally to redefine worth according to your terms and know what self-worth looks like, feels like, and means to you?
It's mainly given me inner peace.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Inner peace. I mean, I sound like such a typical yogini here, but it's
I feel it though. I feel it. You say that and I go, oh my God, that's what we all want. We want the critic to stop. We want that inner peace.
But it is that thing of, you can't really engage with the world from a powerful place if you haven't found that ground zero of calm in yourself. It becomes very, very difficult to do. And that's why there are things like mindfulness and coaching and like all of these things that are out there are there, because that's what we're aiming to do. We're trying to reconnect this sense of higher self and reality, and how we kind of then relate to the world as a result. So I think inner peace is the biggest thing, and just an ability to enjoy what I do a lot more, which is really important.
That's such a key message. Enjoyment of the things that you love to do. I think so many of the women we have here in the program have personally struggled with being okay to enjoy things for themselves without that guilt. It's such a pillar of self-worth to have the joy for what you do for you, and you do it for you, and you do it without guilt. I think that is so important. Let's move into talking about some of the women that you work with and some of their results. What have been some of the key changes that you have seen in your women from when they work with you and the problems that they bring in to how they depart from after having worked with you?
I think I see a lot of smiles when they leave the room. I see a lot of reflection, which is what the training days are designed to do. And I see a lot of realization that, it can be fun. It can be empowering. I have a cooler. I have this sense of there are other people that feel like me. And when we get together, we can do this. Those are in simplistic terms, that's what we're looking for. I'm not looking for these women to come back to me and create a codependent relationship. I'm looking for these women to go away and be able to say yes and no to the things that they love doing, and being, fully embodying their relationship to themselves. And I think we talked about this before, the main thing, the main issue is fear. And so working with fear, actively confronting and calling it out, is something that we spend a lot of time doing, whether it's through improv or personification. You know, I have lots of different ways of doing that. And when we realize how small and insignificant those fears are and how much control we have over them, and rewriting that script, then we become powerful.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. So let's hear some more of your wisdom and some tips for our women here. What would be your 3 key things for generating self-worth that you can pass on to our women in the Academy who are perhaps wishing they can have some of your self-confidence?
Well, the first thing I want to say, and I think this is really important that people know this, no confidence is constant. So, you know, what you're seeing now, and I think it's really important, you're seeing, you know, two teachers, 2 coaches that are coming together to share experience, but it's not, that doesn't mean that we're perfect.
Oh, and, God, no.
You know,
far from it.
It's really important though, right?
Yeah,
because
it is.
I think people see this and they forget that the reason we're here and we're doing this is because we have lived experience. So I think, you know, definitely processing emotion is a really big thing. Processing emotion. I teach, as you know, I teach a very specific technique in my classes where we go through these different stages of emotion. And it's really, really important, because if you don't process it, it comes out in different ways in other ways. So it's really, really important. Processing emotion. Totally and completely being yourself. Really, really important. Being yourself. You know, I teach foundation students, really young, you know, 16, 18, being you, the best thing you can do. That's the course I teach them, right? Okay, that's because it's true. Being you, the best thing you can do. Stay true to you. And then I would say working from joy. Working from joy is something that infuses what we do with an energy that sort of just can't be denied. You know, think about it. When you see a person on the street and you have a certain vibe from them when they're walking down the street, they smile, you know, you smile at them and you kind of can't help it. And you know when you're in that place, because when you're walking down the street, people look at you like, oh, hi. You know, it's like they're cruising you. And you sort of think, what? And it's because you have that energy around you, that lovely, wonderful, sattvic, open energy. So working from joy.
I think that's beautiful. Open energy from joy, processing your emotions and being you. Such powerful messages. Do you have any final words that you would like to share with us here at the Body Confidence Academy?
Yes, I do. I thought a lot about what you said about the relationship to ourselves and our bodies. And I am not someone that has ever fit the standard mold. That's why I started Different Women. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have scars. I have scars all over my body because my body takes longer to heal. Literally. And it's a bit of a psychological, okay, so, you know, there's double the work, everything's double hard, you know, and I know that feeling. So I want people to know that people in power are not perfect. They have their own struggles, and it's because they've been able to go inward and do that work and then come back out to the world, repurposing that, working on the shadow self, not being afraid of being a wounded warrior. That's the human experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ariane, for your time and for being here. I trust that all the women here would absolutely love what you've shared, and they can find out more about what you do below. So thank you so much from me and Ariane, everybody, and take care. Much love.